Hi everyone, my name is Jamie and welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, I make videos about knitting and yarn and hopefully crochet soon. I keep saying that, but I promise you the crochet content is coming, and that's pretty much it. So if that interests you, feel free to check out my channel and subscribe if you like what you see. Make sure to check me out on Instagram and TikTok and Threads at Jamie_creates. Of course, make sure to check out my patterns. They're available on my website, Etsy, Ravelry, Ribbler. All the links will be in the description. Speaking of my patterns, I am wearing my For the Love of Waffles jumper, and this is a super chunky cozy knit. So if you are in winter right now, or you are heading into winter soon-ish, if you're on the other side of the world and you want to start getting that winter wardrobe ready, I highly recommend this pattern. It is just like a big hug and it's so squishy and delicious, and just like, look at this texture. I am obsessed with it. I wear it literally all the time, but I realized I've never worn it in a YouTube video, so that's why I'm wearing it today. And also behind me is my happy hour top, one of my best-selling patterns as well, and I thought I would hang her up there. I thought maybe each video I'll hang up a different knit in the background for your viewing pleasure, because I've had a different one hung up for like the past couple of videos, and I thought, why not change it up? It's getting a bit boring. You know, the more knits, the better. With that out of the way, let's get into today's video. I think this is gonna be a fun one. I actually got this idea from Bethany from Well Loved Knits on YouTube. She is a great creator, so definitely check her out if you somehow haven't already and are watching my videos but not hers. ? So today's video is going to be, very much inspired by a video that she did, which is knitting would you rathers. So I asked on Instagram yesterday if people could submit knitting would you rathers, and they are very interesting. There are quite a few really juicy ones and pretty funny as well. So we can think of this as like a little knit and chat, because I'm actually going to be knitting whilst reacting / responding to the knitting would you rathers that you guys submitted. I won't talk too much about what I'm working on because I'm going to save it for my next knitting podcast, which I'm hoping I'll be able to do next week. I think I've got enough stuff going on the needles to do maybe a shorter but still a knitting podcast to keep you guys updated with what I'm working on. But this one has seriously just like come together in like really not a long time, considering the yarn arrived on Friday and I think I casted it on that night, and it's now Wednesday. So I mean, it's like, it's not like it's been 2 days, like it's been a few days, but like these are 4.5mm needles, so pretty small for me, and it's also like my own design, so there's like obviously an element of me having to figure out what's going on, and this is like pretty new for me, but this is like what we've currently got. It's going to be a wrap top of sorts. I'll talk more about it in my podcast, but yeah, just so you know, that is what I'm working on, a new design, which is very exciting. There's a lot of pink going on. Not sorry, because like I feel like pink is the moment right now, you know? Okay, so I have the knitting would you rathers on my iPad. Okay, the first question is pretty funny because it's kind of similar to what I'm actually doing right now, pretty much, like not that far off. Would you rather stitch 300 stitches across for every row, or use 3mm needles for a whole sweater? Honestly, I feel like these things go hand in hand. Like I feel like the only times I ever really have to do that is when I'm using smaller needles, but I think I would go with the first option, because I guess 3mm needles do kind of hurt my hands after a while. Kind of anything like 6.5mm and below, like my hands are gonna start cramping up. And I know that's like really specific, but like I've had some experiences with 6.5mm needles that my hands have gotten really sore. So I honestly just think, as much as I do knit with like lots of different sizes of needles, I am probably more accustomed to bulky weight, so like 7mm to like 10mm. So those I find the most comfortable. Anything above that, I also can get sore hands, but it's just like a different kind of pain. It's usually more in my wrist, whereas I feel like my actual like fingers and hands can get more sore when I'm knitting with smaller needles because I'm doing smaller movements, whereas with chunky needles I'm like doing bigger movements. So regardless, yeah, I don't really know where I'm going with this, but 3mm needles for a whole jumper don't think I've ever done. I think for a jumper, I think the smallest I've ever gone is 4mm needles, and that was still a challenge. I did that for the Jenny sweater, but that one at one point had like 500 stitches for every row. So yeah, I think I would go with 300 stitches for every row. My friend Chloe submitted like so many evil questions that like I don't even know if I can answer all of these. I definitely can't answer this first one because it's like actually cruel. I'm not doing it. Like, I'm sorry, I'm not like, it's not happening. But basically she asked, would you also, this is Chloe from Woolen Works, definitely check her out on Instagram if you haven't already. She dyes incredible yarn. But she said to me, would you rather never speak to me again or never knit again? Mwahaha, I'm evil. Yeah, you are evil, Chloe, and literally not answering that question because like that's not a fair question. This is not knitting related. This is like, would you rather lose a friend or never knit again? Like, that's not, I'm sorry, but yeah, you did not, what's the word? Oh my God. Something about the assignment. You did not. Editing me here. The word I was thinking of was understand. For some reason that word didn't come to my head, but now it's come to me in 2 seconds. Didn't complete the assignment. Oh my God, I can't remember the phrase. Anyway, that was not what I asked, so I'm not answering it. But she did ask a bunch of other ones that I will answer. So this one is also kind of evil because she knows my weaknesses. She knows my like sore points, but basically she said, would you rather design only top-down raglans or never knit in the round again? Like, that is actually evil because top-down raglans are not my favorite thing to design, but I do enjoy knitting them. I enjoy knitting in the round as well, not necessarily just raglans, but like just knitting in the round, especially bottom up. And I don't think it's, I don't know, actually, honestly, I think I would rather only design top-down raglans because I would get better at it and then I would still get to knit in the round. And I just don't think I hate top-down raglan designing enough to give up knitting in the round, you know? Luckily, this isn't a real thing. But yeah, I'm getting better at it. And this one is also, I mean, this one isn't in the round because it's a wrap top. So there's like, you know, it's kind of like a cardigan, but it won't be a cardigan. You're going to see. But basically, this one I'm actually designing from the top down, but it's not a raglan, and that's my first time doing that. So I'm broadening my horizons because I don't enjoy raglan. It's just like not fun to grade, in my opinion. Like, other people might disagree. It's just not my strong suit. It's not my specialty. But yeah, like I'm just not super comfortable with it. But she knows that, so that's why she's asked that. So mean. But yeah, I would say I would design only top-down raglans. Would you rather only knit lace or only knit cables? Also a really annoying question. I like knitting both, but would I want to do just one or the other and like nothing else? No. But I'm gonna say cables because I do think it is less guesswork. They're also easier to fix if you make mistakes, in my opinion. They are still annoying to fix, but like definitely easier than lace. Lace is like such a pain to fix when you make mistakes. You usually just have to frog back, and it does require a lot more concentration. And I don't think it's as like versatile in terms of being like in terms of wearables. Like having lots of holes isn't always what you want. So yeah, I think I would still go with cables, but I'm happy I don't live in that world where that's the case. Okay, this one is also, Chloe really knew how to get to me, like how to get to the crux of my pet peeves and whatnot. So she said, would you rather, this is the last one from Chloe, by the way, she submitted so many. This one is, would you rather only knit socks or only knit bralettes? Okay, I think I know my answer to this, and I think if you'd asked me a year ago, it would have been different, but I will say I would rather only knit socks because if you'd asked me a year ago, I would have said I wouldn't wear either, to be honest. But bralettes is probably just like where I'm more comfortable because it's a a garment, not a, I mean, socks is still a garment, but you know what I'm trying to say. Like, I'm not a super experienced sock knitter. However, I did just finish my first actually successful pair of socks, and I am so excited to cast on more. I've also been wearing them all the time, all the time. I wore them so much, and I need more pairs because it's probably not great that I'm just wearing them all the time. So I think, yeah, I would only knit socks because I am a busty girl, and depends on the pattern and depends on a lot of things, but most knit bralettes, it's not that they don't look good on me. It's not like people with boobs can't wear them, but they don't look how I would like them to look. And that's just a reality of also just the proportion of my boobs are just annoying. They're semi-disproportionate to my waist. So it can be kind of hard to knit a bralette that has the coverage that I would like, but then it is also supportive and fits me around my underbust area. And yeah, I've just had a lot of trouble with it in the past, and I have very few bralettes that I actually would wear. And it's just not really my style as well to go around wearing bralettes. So I think I would prefer to only knit socks. But like I said, I would probably get really sore hands if I was only knitting socks, but we would deal with it, you know? Okay, the next one is, would you rather have a needle break or drop a stitch marker? So when you say drop a stitch marker, I assume they mean my stitch marker just falls off when I'm in the middle of a row and I don't realize it, and then I don't know where it's meant to go. I would still rather that than having a needle break. I'm currently knitting on 2mm needles, not currently, but I have a project that I'm knitting on 2mm needles at the moment, and I am so scared they're gonna break. So yeah, that's my worst nightmare. I would think I've definitely had needles break in terms of the cord has come off the interchangeable needle, and that is already hell on earth. But if a needle actually snapped in half while I was knitting, and I know this has definitely happened to people, I would cry. So yeah, I think I would rather drop a stitch marker because I could probably just I'd be able to figure out eventually where it goes. Hopefully, it wouldn't be the end of the world. So then this next one is, would you rather top down or bottom up construction? I'm not sure what in the context of does that mean I would rather only do one forever, or just which one do I prefer? But I'm just going to say bottom up, just because I'm more comfortable with it, especially when it comes to designing, as I mentioned. But I also, I do love a top down, so no hate. But yeah, and I think I'm actually probably in the minority when it comes to that, but it's just what I feel comfortable doing. I can't help it. It's just my comfort zone. I don't know. I can't really explain why. So the next one is, would you rather only knit with 3.5mm needles or only knit with itchy yarn? Wow, that is a really tough question, but I think I'll have to go with the only knit with 3.5mm needles, because even though I'll probably get sore hands and impatient, I will at least have free choice and free will over the fibers that I use. Ultimately, I am a huge wearer of my knits. It's a huge source of motivation for me in terms of finishing my knits and just knitting in general, and casting things on is what would I like to wear. It's a huge thing when I'm designing. I always design pieces that I know I would wear. So I think if I was to have itchy yarn, because I definitely do have somewhat sensitive skin, I probably don't have world's most sensitive skin, but I know that there are a lot of mohairs and even certain wools that I am quite sensitive to, and I just, if I'm wearing an itchy mohair, I just can't wear it. And if it's an itchy wool, it's the same thing. I need to wear layers underneath, and even knitting with it, I don't think would be that fun. So yeah, I think I'll have to go with the 3.5mm needles there, just purely because at least I'd be able to wear my knits. So that's kind of compensation for that. I also really want to flag that I don't hate tiny needles. I think everyone thinks that I do, but it's just that like my hands would get sore if I was to only knit with one needle for the rest of my life, especially if it was a smaller one. And I think that that's like a pretty fair reason to like be more hesitant to pick those ones, but in that case I would take it. Okay. Oh, this question, I love it. And it's such an easy answer for me. Would you rather have an endless supply of yarn or never weave in ends again? That is literally the easiest question. Like, I know it sounds like, oh my gosh, like never weaving in ends again. How amazing would that be? I would absolutely take the endless supply of yarn. I assume that I don't have to pay for it. Like, it's an endless supply, so it would just fall into my lap essentially, which would be amazing. Like yarn just like kind of falling from the sky into my shelf. And I would never have to go yarn shopping. It would just appear. It would never end. I would love that. And I would take that any day over never having to weave in ends. I don't love weaving in ends, but I definitely don't hate it enough to choose that option over an endless supply of yarn. So I don't know. Comment below if you would pick the never weaving in ends again over that, because I think you have to like really, really hate weaving in ends to pick that option, but I'm curious to know if anyone would do that. Would you rather frog or ignore one tiny mistake? Now, if it's a tiny mistake, I will go with that, because it depends on obviously how much I have to frog. If it was just like one row or something, then like whatever, I probably frog it. But like even in this in this design that I'm working on right now, I realized randomly that I had increased a stitch. Like I had somehow like knit into, I don't know, either I'd done a yarn over or I just like knit into one of the little ladders in between, and like I'd created a whole extra stitch, and it was like several rows that like on this piece would have been like a lot to frog. And so I basically just decided I was just gonna decrease it. And I fixed it so that there wouldn't be a hole where the hole was. Like I pulled it down and then twisted it so it would look like it was like a make one right or left, I don't know, and then use a crochet hook to pull it back up and then decrease on the next row. So I still have the correct stitch count, but honestly, like you just won't even notice it. It's also like at the back. So if it was at the front, I definitely think I'd frog because it would be kind of noticeable, but because it's at the back, like no one's gonna see it. At least I won't have to see it when I wear it. And this is such a, like, there's so many stitches on this that I just don't think one stitch is going to make any difference to the fit. Like when there is like one extra stitch for a couple of rows, like it's just not going to be a big deal. So like it depends on what it is, but in that case, like if frogging is going to be like quite a lot and it's just a tiny mistake, ignore the tiny mistake. If it's a big mistake, like obviously, but that's not what the question was. So yeah, the next one, would you rather never use mohair again or never use suri again? Very easy question. Never use mohair again. Duh. Like anyone who doesn't answer that has never knit with suri, clearly, because I'm currently knitting with it. So I think that it should be obvious. I am a big suri fan. It's so much softer than mohair. There obviously are some pretty soft mohairs out there, but I think as like a general kind of blanket statement, suri is softer than mohair. It's nicer for me to knit with, and it's much, obviously, like I said before, nicer for me to wear. And they look really similar. Obviously, they have their differences. I'm no expert. I can't go in depth right now off the top of my head about all the differences. You're probably better off asking a yarn dyer or just someone who has more expertise in fiber, or you can Google it. But overall, I like have substituted suri in for mohair projects. And I think that like for patterns I call for mohair, and I think it's great. So definitely I would never use mohair again because suri is like literally so soft, except it is kind of expensive, but I feel like mohair is also kind of expensive. So meh. Speaking of expensive yarn, this next one is, would you rather yarn be double as expensive but you knit twice as fast, or vice versa? So what's the other way around? What's the wait, my brain is like not focusing. I assume the alternative is, okay, wait. Would you rather yarn be double as expensive, but you knit twice as fast, or vice versa? So I think vice versa is just like how I normally am, like how yarn is normally priced and how I normally knit. So like, would I rather keep things the way they are or be able to knit at twice the speed that I already do and have yarn be twice the price? I definitely would keep things the way they are. Yarn is expensive enough right now in this economy, and I'm a pretty quick knitter. So I don't think that I could. Okay, here's my rationale for that is that if I were to knit quicker, and this is in also a perfect world where I actually don't buy yarn until I have a specific project in mind or until I finish my current project, which just isn't the case. But I've been pretty good. I haven't bought that much yarn recently, but I think that like then I would be spending even more because I'd be buying yarn more often because I'd be knitting quicker, and then I would just end up spending even more money than I was already spending with it being double the price. So I don't see a rationale for that, and yeah, I think I would have to keep things the way they are because yeah, I am a pretty quick knitter, and I also like to enjoy the process, so I don't need to be rushing through everything. So yeah, that was a pretty easy question for me. So the next question is, would you rather knit a cardigan or a dress? Once again, I think this is pretty easy for me. I think I would knit a cardigan. Nothing against dresses. I have currently knit only one. I've also only worn it once. So I think that kind of explains my answer. I am just more likely to wear a cardigan, and also it's quicker. And yeah, just I think I'll get more use out of it, more versatile. I love my knit dress. I wore it for a festival in the summer. It was just a day festival and it was great. And I definitely want to wear it again this summer, but yeah, it's not really appropriate for like the weather that I've had recently. I actually really wanted to wear it for the Barbie movie, but like I said, yeah, it would have been cold because it is a summer dress. But I definitely think I will try and find some more excuses to wear it when summer comes around in a couple of months. But like I said, like I don't really plan on knitting many dresses just because I just don't feel like I like wearing dresses, but I just feel like knit dresses is like, it's a big statement, you know? So yeah, I think I'd rather knit a cardigan. Okay, this question is hectic. Like whoever came up with this one is like seriously insane or just like so evil. But I love it. I like the challenging questions because they push me to have to like make annoying, hard decisions, but I feel like it's more entertaining. So this next one is, would you rather never be able to knit your own designs again or only knit your designs but in the wrong size? I'm gonna like take this, like, am I able to design new things? I assume not. Like I assume it's like any knitting that involves something I'm designing or have designed in the past. So I'm never allowed to knit my own designs again, which also means I have to stop designing or only knit my designs but in the wrong size. Thank God this isn't a real thing because I would be really sad about this outcome, but I think I would probably never knit my own designs again because like I said, I started knitting because I wanted to wear the things that I made. That was like a huge driving force between me starting to knit because I used to be a crocheter. But I just found that I was not getting wear out of my crochet pieces, and crochet just wasn't really... just didn't align as much with my style and my taste. And so even though I liked crocheting, I also wanted to kind of get the benefit out of what I was making, and I felt that knitting I'd be able to kind of do both, where I would enjoy the craft but then also the finished object I'd be able to kind of reap the benefits from and get to wear around and show off what I made. And so if it was in the wrong size, I think it wouldn't be ideal. Obviously if it's like one size off, like whatever, but I feel like when it's like the wrong size, it's like it doesn't fit. And so yeah, then I would never get to really wear anything that I made, and that would just be really sad. So I think if I had to choose, I would choose to never knit my designs again, and I would be able to, you know, knit other people's amazing patterns, because that would also probably be a lot more mindless. I've been enjoying, I'm saying this as I'm knitting my own design right now, but I have been enjoying, since I finished writing my book, I've been enjoying picking up some other people's patterns and just kind of having some more mindless knitting time, which has been great. So yeah, that's how I started knitting, knitting other people's patterns and knitting things I wanted to wear. So yeah, I think it would just take me back to my roots, but it would be sad because I would basically have to give up my like pattern writing business, which would be a shame considering I'm about to publish, well, not about, next year, but I'm going to be publishing a pattern book, so probably have to cancel that. So yeah, let's just be happy this is not a real situation. But yeah, that was a great question. Yeah, this next question is like so ridiculous, but I love it. Would you rather knit 100 duck-sized horses or knit one horse-sized duck? Honestly, the things that people come up with just like continue to amuse me. 100, I just need to like think through the logistics of this. 100 duck-sized horses. One horse. I think 100 duck-sized horses. I don't think I'd know even how to knit a horse or a duck, to be honest. But in theory, I think lots of little things would probably be more motivating because I get to kind of keep finishing things. It's kind of like when you're crocheting and you get to do a bunch of different granny squares and you like feel like you're kind of getting somewhere even though you have so many to make. I think I'd rather do that than like one giant horse-sized duck because that would feel like it was never ending probably. So that's my answer. Hilarious question. Okay, would you rather lace weight or bulky weight yarn exclusively for all your future projects? That's a really easy question. I don't think anyone's surprised by this answer, but I would definitely use bulky weight yarn. I hope this person doesn't mean super bulky weight, so I'm going to take it literally as the words that have been written. Bulky weight yarn in my mind is like, let me see, like, oh, this is like leftovers, but like 100 grams, 100 meters, not like super, super chunky like this, but like, you know, in between. And I just find that that is definitely my favorite yarn weight to use because it's quick, but not too quick. It's chunky, but not too chunky. And it's like warm, but not too heavy. Like there's just, I don't know. I just think I honestly have very little complaints when it comes to bulky weight yarn. And like I said before, also like when I'm knitting on bulky weight yarn, I very rarely get wrist or hand pain. So I would take that over lace weight yarn any day. This question, I genuinely don't know. I don't even know. Would you rather wear a sweater made of eyelashes or a sweater made of tears? And then it says, if you know, you know. I don't think I know. Am I missing something here? Is there something I'm supposed to know? Because I don't think I know it. Is this a reference to something? Please tell me in the comments if I'm missing something here, because I think I am, since it says if you know, you know. I'm going to go with the eyelashes one because I don't know how a sweater made of tears would be possible. I don't think you can knit with liquid. So yeah, I don't think you can really knit with eyelashes either, but we'll just go with that one. Please someone tell me if I'm missing something here because I think I am and I feel really silly and out of the loop, but I had to include it just because I want to know what it means. Okay. Would you rather do multiple colors at once or multiple stitch patterns at once? So at once is a phrase that I'm getting a little hazy on in terms of this question. Like, do you mean I'm holding like several strands together to make like a multicolored piece? Because I don't think you can do multiple stitch patterns at once. Like you have to kind of switch between them. Like you can't do more than one stitch pattern at a time. So I'm going to assume it's like, would you rather do like color work where you're like knitting with lots of colors in one project, or you're knitting with lots of stitch patterns? And I will go with the latter because I think that will, honestly, it's actually funny because if you'd asked me this like 2 years ago, I would 100% have said multiple colors, but I've just become so obsessed with texture and just different stitch patterns, and it keeps me really engaged. That's why I designed the intention deficit jumper, which is going to be in my book, because I just think it's so fun to like change stitch patterns throughout a piece and like, you know, you get to learn more, you get to keep your mind engaged, and it's so motivating. So, and it looks so fun as well. So I think I definitely do that, because color work can sometimes get a bit annoying depending on what the technique is that you're using, how many colors you have. But yeah, I think I would prefer just like to use one fun color and lots of different stitch patterns than to do color work. But if you'd asked me that a few years ago, I used to be like, color work was honestly like just using lots of colors was how I kind of really got into knitting, and like designing and being creative, and that was what I like would first kind of post on social media. I used to say that I would never knit with one color at all. Like I would never knit anything in only one color, which I don't know how I thought that was realistic. I think I used to use a lot more affordable yarn at the time. So I used to knit primarily with like acrylic and cotton. And so I think, yeah, knitting with lots of colors was really accessible to me because it was like $2 a skein. Whereas now I spend a lot more on my yarn because I am prioritizing really, you know, nice high quality yarns as much as I can within reason. But yeah, I think ever since like, even just like since I started knitting with like wool and alpaca and stuff, I like it to knit with lots of colors becomes a serious expense that you could potentially avoid if you're knitting with one color. So I think that was like the main kind of subconscious reason I stopped knitting with so many colors like all the time. I still do knit with multiple colors sometimes, but just not all the time. But yeah, I used to literally say that I would never do it. So I definitely changed my mind on that. But yeah, I think now my answer is pretty clear that I would definitely do multiple stitch patterns. Oh, this question is so juicy. Oh my God. And really ties in to what I've been saying before. So I actually don't even know what my answer is going to be. I think I do, but yeah, the question is, would you rather never wear your knitting / crochet again, or only ever wear your knitting or crochet pieces for the rest of your life? So that's a tough question. It's not a super obvious one. I think I am going to lean towards only wearing my knits and my crochet, but mostly knits pieces for the rest of my life, rather than never getting to wear them, because I think I'd just be really sad. And to be honest, there is rarely a day that goes by. I mean, I do work from home, so I find myself like, especially in winter, I'm definitely wearing, I mean, even in summer as well, I'm definitely wearing like my hoodies and just like more comfortable tops and jumpers around the house. But I also really do wear my knits a lot. And I think also because I have been, okay, this is like a tangent, but I basically haven't been wearing any of the pieces that I knit for my book, because I'm saving them and I want them to be in like pristine condition for my photo shoot, which is this weekend. So after the photo shoot, I'm going to be able to wear them, which I'm so excited about, because I've gone this like whole winter without wearing any of the beautiful jumpers and vests that I've made. And I'm like, oh, I just want to wear them because I'm so excited about them and I love them. So maybe that's why I've been wearing my knits a little bit less, just because I feel like I have like a rotation of the ones that I wear the most. But honestly, I still feel like I wear my knits like, you know, maybe like 4 or 5 days out of the week. So it wouldn't be that crazy for me to wear my knits for the rest of my life. I have plenty, probably a lot that I don't wear enough, because obviously I have my faves. But yeah, I think it would be too tragic to give them up for the rest of my life. So yeah, I'm going to go with only wearing my knits the rest of my life. Okay, there's only a couple of questions left, so we're nearing the end. This one is, I think, like a mix of 2 different questions, but I don't think these 2 were in the same question, right? I'm pretty sure. Yeah, they were different. So this one is like a mix of 2 different questions that I had in the past, but this one is, would you rather get an endless supply of yarn or be able to knit 2 times faster? So that's a different question than the expensive yarn. I think I would definitely still take the endless supply of yarn, because like I said, I'm a very quick knitter, and would I like an endless supply of yarn, especially for free? Absolutely. So I would take that any day. Anything to do with getting an endless supply of yarn, I think I'm pretty much always going to take, unless it's a really, really good alternative. Okay, and then this one is also kind of similar to some other questions, but it's definitely different. So the last one is, would you rather have to include cables in everything you knit, or have to include color work in everything you knit? Once again, if you'd asked me this a few years ago. It's actually really hard. I think I would go with, in this question, I think I would go with color work, because I think you can like do more with color work than you can with cables. Although I love a good cable knit, I think I'd probably just get sick of it if every single thing I was knitting with cables, and I'd probably just want some more versatility. And I feel like with color work, there's just like, the options are kind of endless with what you can do and what you can create. So many different color work techniques. I think it would also just like allow me to be really creative and use lots of colors. So I think, yeah, if I had to pick one or the other, I would probably pick color work, which is interesting because I didn't pick color work over the different textures. And I picked cable work over lace. So yeah, it really depends for me on the question. Like, it depends on what you put it up against. But yeah, I think I would have to say color work for everything. You know, take me back to my roots as well, which is good. So that is all of the questions I'm going to answer. I don't want to make this video too long. I also just want to say I'm really sorry if I was looking down a lot in that video. I was looking at the questions in front of me, but then also my knitting. I'm just like really bad at knitting without looking. And so I just am not willing to like drop a stitch over looking at the camera. So yeah, apologies if I was not making a lot of eye contact, but regardless, those are all the questions. So I think I'm going to end the video there. That was really, really fun. I definitely think I'll do another one of these down the track. Definitely keen to do this one again. I've said this in the last couple of videos, but please, for the love of God, can you please comment down below if you have any video ideas for me, because I don't have a ton at the moment. It's quite like a lot to like come up with a new video every week, and like I'm trying to do weekly, and like so far I've been good since I've come back to YouTube, but we'll see how long that lasts. It might end up being bi-weekly or just like as much as I can. Be sure to check out last week's video and the week before. They're my two most recent uploads. I did a video last week of how much can I knit in 1 hour, which was really fun. And the week before that, I did a sample tour of from my book. It was the second part, so I showed the second 9. Like, I did one ages ago where I showed the first 9 patterns from the book, and then a couple of weeks ago I did the rest of them. So yeah, if you want to see what's going to be in my book, check that out. And obviously, yeah, just follow me on Instagram and TikTok to see more content, but hopefully I'll see you next week. And thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.